Hello and welcome to the Work for Change podcast. My name is Jean and I'm kind of have a little stuffy nose right now. I'm kind of congested and stuff, but my name's spelled like Gene.
I was going to ask you, how's it spelled?
Yeah.
My name is John with a silent H. Welcome to episode 16 of the Work for Change podcast. Oh, you didn't say it too. Okay.
Yeah, well, I was saying it and then you were saying it and then I was like, this is like corny, like 80s, like if there was like music and we jumped in the air and it stopped at the same time, you know, that's kind of what I was feeling.
I'm feeling like that's how we should intro every podcast.
We just like try to synchronize it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. Sounds good. Hey, well, thank you so much for listening to episode 16, tuning in, coming in, listening. We are very excited about this episode. But before we get into this episode, just want to shout out someone who left us a review.
Yes. So this review is coming from Nikolai Navarro. And
From Russia.
From the Netherlands is what it says. So it says, I discovered this duo via Jean on YouTube.
Heyo.
And then in quotes, no idea how his videos first got to me, probably CrossFit stuff.
Yeah.
The great production, style, content, and his charisma got me hooked pretty fast, and I've been watching his videos ever since. Via John, I ended up discovering John and his great YouTube content as well. I actually used his story to inspire my sister into her weight loss journey. So when I heard they were getting together to do a podcast, I was really excited, and I have to say this stuff is even better than I expected. I am usually too lazy to leave reviews, but this one really deserves it. Keep the great content coming, and people go check out their YouTube content. Great stuff. Nikolai, and then in quotes, Brazilian living in the Netherlands and listening to a podcast from the U.S. Isn't the internet a crazy thing?
So what you guys don't know is that's actually how more people find out about my brother.
That's not true.
Is through my content. We talked about last week, the 7,000 followers that I have. Definitely
Has that grown at all since last week?
I mean, it's always growing a little bit. But yeah, so I did, what happened? Oh, my engagement video. I posted my engagement video. I got like 50 followers from it.
Nice.
Subscribers or something. So that's pretty cool. Someone actually sent me a DM. They didn't send me a DM. They tagged me in their story, which comes into the DMs. And it was like, when you realize you have more followers than Jean-Claude or something. And it was like,
dang, it's savage.
Like savage.
Savage. And the thing that's funny is that was me.
No, it was like, just, you know, a girl was posting her journey. And so she has like 1,000 more than me. And so she's like, it's weird because I like look up to you as an Instagram, blah, blah. And then she's like, and then you said your numbers. And I'm like, what?
And then she stopped looking up to you. She's like, oh, this peasant.
Yeah, she was like, this peasant. She actually left me on red.
Yeah, but I thought that one was cool because it's cool how you've been able to influence him with the CrossFit stuff, and then I was able to help his sister through it. Yeah, so I thought that was a really cool review. But if you're listening to this and you're like, how do I get my review on the podcast? Leave us a review on iTunes. That's the only place that there's like literally written reviews. I know it kind of sucks if you don't have an iPhone, but if you have a computer, you can download iTunes if you want to really leave a review. But we really appreciate it. 5 stars. Thank you very much. You guys are really awesome. So again, if you want your review read, that's where you need to leave it.
That is true. And just while you guys are listening to it, make sure that you do the hashtag Work for Change podcast. You guys have been doing so much more of that. It's really cool seeing it pop up in the feed and just get tagged and stuff like that. So while you're listening on Instagram, make posts, make stories, whatever you're doing, hashtag Work for Change podcast. Be sure to tag me at Jean Glad, my brother.
At Obese to Beast.
Or
at John_Glad.
And we'll be sure to look at it and enjoy it. And lastly, before we get into this podcast, we have merch coming sooner than we had last week.
Yeah.
So just keep
it's on its way now.
Yeah.
It's like it's walking, but it's on its way.
This will be the area, like that beginning part of the podcast will say merch is live. So we won't like trick you guys and put it like halfway through the podcast.
Yeah.
So when it's ready, it'll be ready and you will know.
Yeah. Cool. So, and then also, obviously, going into the podcast, this one features my really good friend, John's really good friend, Brian Turner, who is a YouTuber. He's actually the person that got me into YouTube. If it wasn't for him, I would not be where I am now. We talk about that in the podcast. We talk about, you know, so he's someone that's dealt with really, really bad cystic acne. And also he is actually not recently, he's actually been vegan for like 3 years now. That's crazy.
For a while,
He's been vegan for a while. So he's a vegan bodybuilder, but also just a really close friend of ours, an influencer, if you want to use that word, a YouTube personality, and just a genuinely really nice dude. And we had a really cool conversation.
I had a conversation with someone last night about the term influencer. It's totally side.
Yeah,
side
it's one of
thing.
my least favorite words.
It
But it's like you kind of have to use it because it's like, well, how else do you use Instagram famous guy? Like,
yeah.
it's just like so.
Well, it's like a term that was put on by brands. You know what I mean? It's like they're trying to say like, well, we pay this person to do this thing to influence their audience. So it's like they just go all the way down to the least common denominator of what the person does, and then try
they
to
influence.
say,
They're an
and
influencer.
Yeah, and they try to say that that's everything they do, and it's like it's so much more.
It's
like,
yeah.
inspire, promote, like whatever. Anyway, random side. That's just it's interesting how terms are being used and being shaped, and we are in the middle of it right now. So, no, he's reaching for the sound.
So I hope you guys enjoy this episode 16 of the Work for Change podcast.
we actually have like a whole like sound, like it's like this cuts out and then like the music starts and then we go. So we're not gonna like That's not the proper transition to get into the interview. I really appreciate the effort though.
Okay.
Hope you guys enjoy the episode. What's up, Brian?
Hey, baby.
How you doing?
Good, man. How about you?
Doing good. Glad to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited about this because I remember I was a guest on your podcast, Beyond the Podcast, like a couple times.
Yeah.
And so if people aren't familiar with Brian and like our kind of history, if it wasn't for Brian, I wouldn't have a YouTube channel. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. So can you like kind of
Before we even get into your guys'
Okay.
connection, like let's get early. Like when did you start fitness? When did you start, like that journey for you?
Yeah.
And then we can talk about the collision and because I was at the gym when you guys met. We were supposed to be working out and he just left me. And I was like there for like 30
I
minutes.
didn't even know that.
So we can talk about that. But let's dive before that.
That's
like
hilarious.
what's your fitness journey? Like tell us about that.
Yeah, man, I'll put it in a nutshell. I feel like I've said it so many times, but
Yeah.
I was 15 when I first started lifting. I was like 130 pounds, had ribs showing, like really, really skinny dude. My bigger brother.
So you were like John is now then.
Cha-ching!
And that is the end of the Work for Change podcast. Jean has left.
My older brother's 10 years older than me, and so he had put on just like the slightest amount of mass. Like if you looked at it, like if now from our perspective, we'd be like, that literally isn't even any muscle at all. But I was 130 pounds, and so he had started doing CrossFit for like 8 weeks, and he had like a little bicep vein showing, and I was like, oh my gosh, LP's swole.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't let my big brother be bigger than me, so that was what like triggered me to start lifting. Having people tell me I'm skinny and having my ribs showing all the time, telling me I need to bulk up, and then LP was the catalyst because he was looking juicy, and I was like, I gotta catch up to that.
Oh, yeah.
So once I started lifting at 15, that was it. I just got like super in love with it. I was also doing soccer like full time. I was doing 6 days a week and like doing professional training and stuff, so that I could go on to like I had like a contract ready for the San Diego Soccer's practice team. So I was gonna go and like work my way up the rungs through like semi-amateur and then to pro, and then like eventually like make that my career. But then I was like, oh man, bodybuilding just does it for me. Like soccer's amazing, but bodybuilding does it. So I just gave up on everything else. I like stopped bodybuilding, stopped soccer and went full on into bodybuilding, and then like literally just got obsessed with it. So it's been since I was 15 and I'm 26, so like 11 years straight.
So for people who don't know, I don't know if anyone does, but you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That's kind of like all surrounded around bodybuilding and fitness and stuff. From bodybuilding to YouTube, were you just watching other people and you thought, I can do that? Or like what was the catalyst to start YouTube?
Back when I started YouTube, there wasn't a lot of YouTube fitness. There was like 2 people. There was like Matt Ogus and Chris Jones, and that was like it. Oh, and like Greg Plitt. Do you remember him from back in the day?
Yeah.
Dude, throwback. So I basically just started making YouTube videos because I was a personal trainer at the time, and I figured I'd get in a career that was like aligned with bodybuilding. And I always had to explain the same thing over and over. So like, can you eat carbs after 10? Et cetera, all the simple questions.
Yeah.
I was answering them so repetitively because I was just doing like new people all the time, new clients. So I was like, if I'll just make videos answering those questions, then I can not waste that person's time on their personal training sessions, just send them over to that YouTube channel. But then naturally those videos just started getting views and stuff. And eventually some guy messaged me on Facebook and was like, hey, I've been watching your videos for like 8 or 9 months. I've lost 80 pounds just from watching your stuff and learning from you. And I was like, dude, that's so sick.
That's awesome, yeah.
I wasn't even trying to do this. I didn't even know that this was like possible. And some guy I don't even know has just changed his life and he's on some other state that I'm never going to see him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if that's how I can do from not even trying or not even knowing, then what can I do if I keep going? And then I was like, if I don't make those videos, then I'll stop those people who would be helped from getting helped. So I was like, I got to do this full on. And it's just like in my nature. I love helping people. It feels good.
So can you tell us the story of how you got fired from your job as a personal trainer? Because I think that story is so
I love
good.
that you know that.
Of course.
So few people know that. My manager still like follows me on Instagram, so he'll still DM me and joke
Your
about
old manager?
Yeah. So
That's funny.
I was working at an LA Fitness, and again, it was my first job, personal training, and after this message I got where I was like, okay, I'm gonna start taking YouTube more seriously. So I was like, okay, instead of just doing informational, I'll do fun stuff too. So I did a 100 pull-up challenge. But as you guys know, like corporate gyms, busy as hell. So I was like, I know exactly what I'll do. I'll get a copy of the key.
Oh my gosh.
Show up at midnight, and I made a 100 pull-up video challenge video there, and it was like at midnight or something like that. So nobody's there. The lights are all off. The video went to 1 million views, and then all of a sudden, my manager texts me and he's like, "Hey, I got to talk to you with the main manager today." And I was like, "Oh snap!"
Did you know that's what it was?
I had no idea.
Oh,
I'm like, what do I do? Like, I'm so nice to people that I personal train, but maybe like one of the, sometimes clients aren't always like the happiest because they're just angry people. And I was like, it must be someone complaining about you. And then they just sit me down and they're like, hey, so did you make a video here?
Oh my gosh.
I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, there's a video and there's no lights and it doesn't seem like the gym is open. So how did that happen? And I was just like, oh crap. And then he's just like, you're gonna be fired in like a week or two. So just like letting you know.
Really? In a week or two, they said?
Yeah.
Like, just so you know, we're gonna fire you soon. Why would you? I would be like, can I leave now then? Like,
Well, it's probably like a commitment to your like people to let them know.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it was.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I was like 18, so I was like, yeah, sick, another $400 before I get totally screwed. Let's figure this out, man.
So then you started making YouTube videos, and was that like? I remember that you had a channel that was like literally just like progress videos. Was that your first like channel that you had, like bodybuilding channel?
That was my third channel.
Third channel.
I tried so much, man. The beginning one was Brighter Training, which is Brian and Turner, my full name, like mixed together. Brighter Training. Like
Brighter, all right.
Like a brighter day.
Yeah.
It is bad wordplay.
Yeah.
And then,
You've done that a couple times.
oh my gosh. I don't know what I'm doing in my life. And then the next one was Comedy Channel, which just failed. I ate like 3 ghost peppers at once, and then a video got like 200 views. like I did terrible things like that. Or like I had my friends like eat food and then spit it out into a blender, and then I blended it all up and drank it. It was called the Regurgitated Food Challenge.
What?
So I was trying
How many
really hard.
views did that one get?
Dude, that got 800 views.
Oh, nice.
That's when I retired it all.
You're like, that's not worth it at all.
I mean, I would do it right now if I knew I could get 1 million views. I'll let you both just like spit a bunch of food and eat it, but it's not going to happen. So then I was like, all right, comedy's not going to work either. And then I went back to, like you said, Humorous Progress was the second oldest one, and that was just like once a week I'd show my progress. I'm like 1 pound heavier, I'm bulking, blah, blah, blah. And then Humorous Fitness came out, which was more of the informational stuff. And then Humorous Progress just retired. That's my second channel. And now Humorous Fitness / Brian Turner is just the main channel, period. Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember, so going back to, let's talk about how we actually met now.
Yeah.
So I remember the first time that we had ever kind of like started talking was I just started like my Obese to Beast Instagram, right? And I was kind of like I was trying to grow it because, well, at first I noticed that it was actually helping people. And then I was like, oh, it'd be kind of fun to grow it. Like literally, like I didn't have thoughts of, oh, I'm going to make this my job. Oh, I'm going to do, it was just like, oh, it'll be fun to have more followers because then I can talk to more people. Like, and then I saw you had Beyond the Week as an Instagram for like shouting out people, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so then I think I messaged you because I realized that you were like kind of in San Diego. But then I think that we had been like talking, but I didn't know exactly where you worked out at stuff or anything like that. And then me and my brother went to the gym that you still go to, but the one that we met at. And I remember I saw you there, and I was like so nervous to talk to you. I was like,
But he's like, I'll be right back. And I'm like, oh, all right. Probably going to the bathroom or something.
mm-hmm. And then I went and talked to you, and then we talked for like, I don't even know how long, like 30 minutes or something like that.
And I'm just literally like sitting at like the curl rack, just like, I don't know what to do right now.
2 things. One, I didn't even know that you were there, so that's terrible. You literally just dipped on him.
I was like, this buff dude's way cooler than my
Yeah, I know.
And 2, what's the curl rack, bro?
I don't know, like a preacher curl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure you aren't curling in the squat rack.
Yeah, it's a really big thing. You
Yeah.
can stand in it. It's the curl
It's
rack.
the curl rack,
It keeps
right?
me safe while I'm curling.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what that is.
People always stand and like do like these weird leg things, but it just gets in the way.
I don't. Yeah, these things are doing squats, and I don't understand why they use the curl rack for that. That seems a little ridiculous. But so then we started talking, and
Yeah.
then you ended up like putting me on like whatever Beyond the Week. But then I remember you were like, you need to make a YouTube channel. You
Yep.
need to make a YouTube channel, and it was something that I was interested in because at the time I had lost most of my weight, and I was watching like YouTube Fitness to help me with that. Right. So a lot of the reason that I was like oh, this guy's so cool is because you had a channel already, and I told you like I was interested in it because I wanted to do it, but I didn't have the equipment. I had all the normal, the normal like reasons why somebody can't do it, right? I don't have a camera, I don't know how to edit, and you're like, do you have a phone? Yes, okay, well you're good there. But what I think is unbelievable is just from us meeting for not that long, you were like, I'm gonna help you, and you literally were the reason that I was able to start the channel. And I was able to even have videos because you were like, you can use my camera and I'll edit. You literally edited my first like 5 videos or something like that. Do you remember that?
I do.
And it's just crazy that if it wasn't for us meeting, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I mean, I talk about it, relatively frequently, but it's like people that don't know that, they're just like, what? Really? Or like some people don't even know that we know each other, right? Because like we've kind of, you know what I mean? Like where you're going with what you're doing now and what I'm doing, but it's still like, I think we'll always be really close friends because we have that connection from the start.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, I'm curious, like what was going through your head? Like, obviously you probably didn't have any idea that things would get to where they are now, but like when we first met and anything like that, like was there anything that you're like, this is definitely like I can see this working out for this kid, or were you just like, I just want to help him out and see what happens? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm optimistic, man, as you know. Also, it's funny that we're talking about this like it's ancient history.
I know. Well, it was like 5 years ago.
This is like 5 weeks ago to me. But for real, yeah, no, it's so old that some people are like, who the hell is that guy?
Mm-hmm.
But I do appreciate you always showing love and stuff. That's really cool. When I first met you, I saw more potential in you than I did in myself. And that's with a lot of people. You see me do that with like tons of different people. Just because like I'm a pretty average dude. Like I'm slightly above handsome.
I would disagree, but slightly below maybe.
but I mean, you've heard me say this a million times. Like you could throw a rock at the fitness industry and hit like 100 white dudes who look like me. Just as like buff dudes. Cool story. So I was like, okay, cool, man. Like this is really unique. And like when you showed up, like I wasn't exactly following a fat loss industry anyways, but I didn't feel like I had ever just randomly came across fat loss pages. It just wasn't like a common thing. More so it was like these corporate pages like, like Jared and Subway and like Jenny Craig and stuff like that. There was no like individuals. And so I was like, dude, this is a huge area for, growth. Cause like I had started to do Accutane stuff and that was where I was like, wow, this is really unique. So this is growing me really well. And so I was like, there's nothing out there that's really like positively showing you how to lose weight in a normal way. That's cool.
And somebody that has lost weight. You
That
know what
too.
I mean? Like it's somebody, because there was channels of people being like, this is how you lose weight, but I think you can have the information if you're somebody that's never had to lose weight.
Yeah.
But for people that need to lose weight, it's so much easier to trust somebody that has gone through it, right?
Yep.
And that's exactly what you were saying to me, because I had already had the Instagram, and it was the same thing. Even on Instagram, there wasn't many people that were putting like that had, especially dudes. I think I was like one of the first guys that had
very
like a
few.
page that kind of grew,
Yep.
right? And we joke about it. I call myself like the weight loss grandpa now, and
For
like
real,
the
though.
weight loss, especially like on Instagram and now on YouTube as well, because when I first started, like there was nobody doing it. And then it was the same thing with YouTube. Like there was nobody that was making weight loss videos and from somebody that has actually lost weight.
Right.
And so like the channel just kind of, it's not like it blew up right away, but it was like steadily growing. And for somebody like me, like I remember I made like 1,000 subscriber like video, but it grew pretty quick to that. And it was because him, right? It was because Brian helped, like he would shout me out in all his videos, and so he was like, if you're someone who's trying to lose weight, follow my friend. And so
It was the OG days.
Seriously though,
I was like, yeah, see that 14 followers that just came to you?
Yeah.
I got clout.
it was crazy. It was insane. That was like one of the most fun times of my life was
Agreed.
growing that. just us both growing together at the same time. Like I remember I would go to Brian's house. We would do a workout, and this was when I was like working a bunch of jobs, but when I would go to his house. We'd go to the gym, and then we'd come back, film a video. I'd be at his house until like 1 a.m. because I would like watch him edit, and he would like kind of tell me what he was doing and stuff like that. And then that's like that. I just remember that, like, and then
sitting on the couch behind me.
And then like I remember you would always make food, and I kind of steal some from you because I didn't know how to cook or anything.
Which, let's be fair, is still how it is to this day.
It's true. We were just
you had those pancakes with me last week.
We were just at a house in LA. That's so true. We were just at a house in LA, and Brian was like, I want to make this. And I was like, you need some help? And he knew 100%. I was like, so we could double up that recipe and just give me half.
Anytime I see you watching me cooking, I'm like, so you want some, baby?
Yeah.
The sad thing is he still doesn't know how to cook. 5 years in. And he's like, can you microwave it? No, I don't want it.
I don't want that. I don't want that. That's way too much work. I don't have time for that. But yeah, so then I kind of like fast forward. Then I was able to start making my own videos. You know what I mean? You weren't making like all of my videos, but I think it's really interesting. I think it would be kind of interesting to talk about the video that went viral for me, because I just remember like that was crazy. Like I just remember both of us, we were like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? So
not everyone knows that Brian edited it.
Yeah, so
right?
Brian didn't just edit it; he filmed it. And
yeah.
like I remember. So
talk about that story, like that day.
Yeah, so the video that I'm referencing is the biggest, my biggest insecurity, loose skin. The video that has like 10 million views now, right? Mm-hmm. But so the day I had talked to Brian about filming that kind of video, I told him there's 3 types of videos I want to make sure I make. I want to make like the regular transformation video where I like has like music over it or whatever, right? I want to make that
super
one
motivational,
yeah, super motivational.
Epic.
You know how it is. Yeah, I've
bold
made like
words.
When you start and you think like that's the video that everybody wants to see.
Yeah, so there was that one. There was full day of eatings, which I still do, and I still think they're useful. And then the loose skin video, because on my Instagram I would get questions still, and I still get them. I would get them all the time. What, do you have loose skin from losing weight? And I had posted a couple of pictures, but never like a full video in showing everything, like my legs and everything, right? Mm-hmm. So then we'd been hanging out for a while. We had talked about it a couple times, and we'd talk about like, oh, let's like, we even thought about like how we would film it, what it would be. But then it was like one day I went to his house, and before we were gonna hit the workout, and I was like, oh no, it was after. So we did the workout, and then we were driving back to the house, and I was like, I think I want to film the loose skin video soon. And then Brian was like, let's just do it right now. And I remember thinking, I haven't showered yet, because I after I work out, I sweat a lot.
Yeah,
I sweat a lot. So I was like, I kind of wanted to shower, but he was like, no, let's just do it. And I was like, okay. So literally from the time that I said, let's film the video, to the time that Brian had edited it and put it up on my channel was 4 hours maybe.
Yeah.
And so, and it was literally just like one take. Brian pulled out the camera, turned on his lights, and he was like, all right, just talk. And I just like talked in the video. Obviously, like he edited it and stuff. And then I just remember it was crazy. Like it went, no. I skipped something. I remember.
Don't skip it.
Yeah, I remember. I knew that it was going to be something like special in quotes, was when you were filming it at the end. I looked at you and you were crying, and you were like, you got me, man. And I was like, what the heck? You know what I mean? And then
I remember.
And
so
then,
let's like, so you're in the car and he goes, I want to film this video. Like, do you automatically start thinking like, okay, now I get the lights up, I'm gonna get the camera up, we're gonna do this? Like, what's going through your head at that time?
Totally, man. Well, like he said, he had been talking about it for a couple of days, but he was like, I'm not sure if I want to do it, or like, I'm not sure how I want to do it. And then when he said like, oh, I want to record it, I was like, from knowing how I've done videos and how like, especially like the emotional ones of my acne stuff, it always goes better if you in the moment are like, I want to do it, and then you go do it. You don't go think it too much. Don't try to like make it perfect, because then you go sit down and all the emotions out and it's all technical. So I was like, let's just make it happen, right? So like, even though he's like sweaty and stuff, I'm like, it'll be 100 times better than if you go home and then come back tomorrow morning and you've been thinking about it all night. Yeah. So we just went home, and luckily I had all my like studio lights up and stuff, and so all I had to do was just like clear some footage and then get the camera ready and stuff. But yeah, like basically as he was talking, I was listening, and I'm an emotional, empathetic guy. Okay, I got feelings here and stuff. And I was just like, this is a crazy story, man. Like my dad's obese. I have a lot of people around me who are obese, so I know how the struggle is. And then being able to change it is such a huge thing. And at the moment, like when I met you, you weren't finished with the fat loss thing. You were really far into it, but you were still like,
I still had like 20 pounds to lose, maybe 15.
And you didn't like have a full knowledge of fitness, like
well,
yet.
Dude,
like,
I was in when we met, like the amount that Brian has taught me, like I say I learned from YouTube, and part of that is because Brian's a YouTuber, right? But like the amount that I've learned, so much of it is from him. And it's not even from him being like, okay, let's sit down and I'm going to tell you how to count macros, or I'm going to tell you how this works, or that. It's just I was able to watch him. And like it's like right when you shadow someone for a job.
Yeah.
That's like the best way to learn.
Totally.
And that's exactly what it was. It was like it wasn't like Brian almost like held my hand. It was like, oh well, you've lost a lot of weight, so I need to make this easier for you or simpler. It was like, no, this is just what I do. And it's not like he was like forcing me to learn stuff. It was just I was watching, and by watching I was learning. You know? And so like it's
Yeah, I was just like, this is just another dude. I'm a dude. You're a dude. You want to
we're
lift?
all dudes.
Let's lift, dude.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
I'm a dude.
Yeah, he's a dude. But yeah, and then so with nutrition, that was part of it. But then with lifting was the biggest thing. Was I just was able to work out with Brian a lot. Like I had never done a deadlift before we met. And then the first time we did
remember
deadlifts, I
that.
did 225, and he was like, "What the heck?" He like gassed me up. He was just like, "Dude, you're really strong." Bro. I was like, "Yeah, man, you know, yeah, like I am pretty strong, right?"
I remember all this so well.
You know, and
Yeah.
so like if it like I truly believe if it wasn't for Brian, it's not that just that I wouldn't be a YouTuber or whatever. Like I don't think I would be as confident with the amount of knowledge that I have with weight loss and fat loss and helping others, because I was able to watch someone that I truly believe knows so much. And the thing that almost bothers me is that people don't know how much you know.
Yeah.
Like people that follow you, they don't know how like smart you are, and you're so humble that you don't like to brag about things. You know what I mean? But
That's why I
Brian's
come
a
on your
s-
podcast.
Yeah.
So you can do it for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
But Brian is a smart guy. So going back to the story, so he ended up editing the video, and then we were kind of talking. He was like, "When should we put it up?" And then he was like, "I'm just gonna put it up right now."
Yep.
And I was like, "Okay." And I remember, I think like we ended up leaving. I left,
Yep.
and then I think the video
Pause.
Yeah.
Your videos at this moment were getting like
100 views.
Yeah, maybe 200 or 300 views.
My channel at the time, when the video like went viral, I had like 3,000 subscribers, and
Yeah.
that sounds like a good amount. And it was. That's why I wanted to make the video. It was like literally the reason I wanted to make that video. It wasn't to go viral. It wasn't to like. It was literally just to answer that question.
Yep.
And I was like, "There's 3,000 people here now. That's a good amount of people that I can share this to, right?"
We had no expectation.
No,
of it.
it was yeah.
Like
it was
he was
just
going to get another 400 views or something at most. Whatever.
maybe. Yeah,
We'll see.
we were talking like, oh, maybe it'll get 30,000 or something like
Yeah.
that, because we were like, it's so emotional, right? Yeah. But then I remember I left and went to sleep. Then I woke up and the video already had 30,000 views, and we were like, what the heck? And apparently, what had happened was somebody posted it on Reddit. And it went to the top page of Reddit, and that's how it started. Like, if it wasn't for Reddit, the video would have never, I don't think it would have ever went viral like it did. Because once it got on Reddit, it started going other places. And then I think it was Ashton Kutcher shared it.
A+.
And then, yeah,
Yep.
Ashton Kutcher shared it. And then that's when it started, like, it just started going crazy.
Getting shared
It was,
everywhere.
Yeah, it was. Like, it was cool that happened. But the reason that it went truly viral, like, I think more than 10 million people have seen that video, because it was on like every single news channel's website, and they would like rip it and like put it on there, so it wasn't like it wouldn't count as a view, which I don't care about that. But I really think that the video, like 10 million views doesn't actually translate to how many people have seen it, because it's crazy. It is unbelievable. But then we had been like joking around for a while. I had like a couple offers of like the doctors asked me to go on their show, and I was like, okay, yeah, why not? And then also like Steve Harvey show also asked me to go on the show,
Which was crazy.
Which was crazy, yeah. But we were like, I was going to do that, and then me, Brian, and his brother LP were like joking around, like, "Oh man, Ellen's gonna hit you up," and then like in all my comments, people were like, "Oh, wait for Ellen," because like that's what she still does that, right? When videos go viral, she'll have them on the show. So, but we were just like joking around, like that's never gonna happen. I remember I got an email from the Ellen show when I was at the gym. And they said, "Don't tell anybody." So I told Brian to tell me right away. I told him right away, and we went. Like I got it as we were leaving the gym, and so I remember we were all three of us were running through the parking lot, like, "Oh, this is gonna be crazy!" But the thing is like they hadn't said I was gonna be on the show. They just wanted to open the line of dialogue, and so we finally like started like talking a little bit. But for the longest time, they said like, "You're not officially on the show." And I let them know that I was like, there's these other shows that want me to be on the show. Like, I was just letting you know. And they said, "We're gonna be honest. If you go on any of those shows, you're not gonna be on our show." And I was like, "Geez, okay." I actually liked the Ellen show. I didn't really watch the Doctors, the Steve Harvey show. I was like, I'd seen the Ellen show a good amount of times. Yeah, right.
Yes.
So then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go on the Ellen show. In my head, I was like, that's what I want to do. And they finally let me know that like you're gonna be on the show. It was on my birthday when they let me know that I was actually gonna be on the show, and they said. This is something I haven't said publicly, but at the time I had a girlfriend, and they said you can bring one person, and I brought Brian. But I told everyone, I was like, no, they said they needed the person that filmed the video at the time, because like me and my girl, like we were pretty newly dating, and yeah, it was. But and then I was able to bring Brian. That was a cool experience.
Yeah,
that was really
your
awesome.
actual girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, basically my actual girlfriend. But yeah, I feel like I'm talking way too much over like what's supposed to be Brian.
No, we just get excited about this. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like we've told this story a million times,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to tell it again. I just feel bad for people who've already heard it.
Yeah.
But for us, it was like we lived through it. It was like so crazy, man. Like Ellen reaching out to anybody in my sphere. Like I live in El Cajon. Like,
Yeah.
you know anybody who's been on Ellen?
No.
No, dude. Like that's like so beyond anything we could possibly hope for. Like I was, it would be awesome if we got on CBS News Local or something like that. We would have been like, whoa.
Carlo Geppetto? No way.
That's
That's
funny.
crazy. But yeah, so it was a really cool experience, and
Yeah.
it was something that I think really solidified like our friendship to be something that's going to be like lifelong.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
especially like at the time I didn't really notice it, but looking back, it's like that was such a defining moment for me.
Totally.
And it's something that was cool. I don't really talk about it very much, and I don't talk about it ever really. Actually,
Right.
in everyday life, I don't talk about it in videos because again, it's like it was a cool thing, but I genuinely don't feel like it's something I deserved. It was just something that was a very cool gift almost. That's the way I
Totally.
like to think of it, right? So it's like, what's the point of really talking about that?
Right.
But I was like, I knew that this was something we were going to talk about because
Yeah.
it's such a cool story.
Totally.
But I want to talk about a little bit about your channel.
Wait, okay, hold on. Before you move on from the Ellen thing, I have one side quick story. You already know where this is going to go.
I don't.
But this is such a funny little side story and it has nothing to do with what we just talked about. But so we had made the loose skin video. A while later, I don't know, a couple months later, we wanted to do a follow-up loose skin
This is
video.
six months later. Oh,
This is so great, man. So same exact situation. Comes over to the exact same, like my studio setup is all the same stuff. And it's the almost exact same video. He's like, take my shirt off, show you this, and da-da-da. And then I'm going to show you my legs. So I have to take my shorts off. And as he takes his shorts off, his ball just pops right out.
Oh, no.
Pops out of his boxers. His ball's just staring me in the face.
High def camera just filming it.
6 lights just
Yeah.
surrounding you.
And so I'm like talking.
Camera just starts slowly zooming in.
So I'm just talking, then Brian's like, hey, you want to put your ball away?
so funny.
I was like, all right, let's refilm that video.
It was so
Oh
funny, and
my
we were like
gosh.
pretty good friends. But I mean, it's not like we were like 10 years into our friendship.
Yeah.
So
you,
it
weren't, you
was-
weren't ball friends yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Good
I was-
friends, but not ball friends.
I think that's where we really solidified a relationship because I was like, "It's cool, dude. Put your ball away and say that thing again."
I was like, oh my gosh. I remember I was so red when he said that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, but filming people fitness wise, like that's not like you've had a lot of other crazy possibilities, right? Like you filmed CT Fletcher a couple times,
Yeah.
right?
He
And you-
was his videographer.
Yeah, I was contracted for a year.
that's crazy. So,
sick.
did you like? You didn't have video skills before YouTube, right? You
Yeah,
kind of
not really.
learned to do it.
I was playing with videos, but there wasn't YouTube yet. But yeah,
And so, what other? You did CT Fletcher. Have you had any other like fitness people? You're like, dude, I can't believe I got to film that person. I got to film that person, like just through YouTube.
I mean, I've shot a lot of people, not like people that I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. More so people who came around because I was CT's person. They were like, hey, could I get you to do like a quick project for me here or there? So I would do stuff for people. But it like when you shoot CT Fletcher, it's like everyone else is really cool, but it's CT
Yeah,
Fletcher,
I
man.
know, man.
So I mean, I've shot
Oh
like a
my
bunch of girls
gosh.
like intros and stuff. I've shot some people who like aren't around anymore, like made documentaries and stuff. But the CT one was like by far the highlight. And then of the CT highlights, shooting with Terry Crews.
That was
Oh,
so
yeah.
crazy.
Was
I
just
remember
like-
when you told me you were
So
going
it
to do
was
that. I
CT
like,
and
whoa.
Terry Crews.
Yeah,
And
man.
then like tiny you.
I know,
right next to them.
Seriously, like 250-pound dudes.
Yeah.
I was just like, I got the email or the text or whatever CT had sent me, and he was like, yeah, I have Terry Crews come in. Like, it's a really important one for me. Obviously, he's been trying for Terry Crews for so long. It's so, like, within his lane. So for him, everything I was doing for CT was so important to me. It was, like, the biggest thing ever. I'd spend 2 weeks each video. It was, like,
Yeah,
my
he would
break.
edit them for hours.
For real.
hours.
But then the fact that he has other cinematographers he could use. Like, he could use Strength Project, the guy who had originally started a channel. So he had to choose out of all his cinematographers, I have the most important character on my collaboration ever, Terry Crews. Who do I want to shoot it? And then he asked me. So I was just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
This dude is in White Chicks. He's in like all these movies and TV shows. Like Everybody Hates Chris. Like he's so massive. And some random weird kid from San Diego who didn't go to film school, who just taught myself all this stuff randomly, am the one who's going to get to shoot
What's
that.
cool about that, not to go on like a side tangent, it's like when you do get like opportunities that you feel like, oh, this is super cool, still working really hard, like getting the opportunity to film C.T. Fletcher was awesome, but in that opportunity you worked so hard and like proved yourself to him.
True.
So it wasn't like you're like, oh, this is cool, I'm just gonna kind of try. It was like, no, I'm gonna try my absolute best, because you would spend hours and hours and hours editing. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then from them saying he actually cares about this stuff, they trusted you to film that video, which is, you know, such a huge deal for you and for them. Because I remember the video that you shot was like super emotional, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's two videos. There's one that was like the workout hardcore, which was tight. But then the other one was both of them leveling with each other about their childhoods, which is the exact same thing. They both had abused moms, and the father was like this really violent guy. And both of them had the exact same reason for wanting to get super buff. It was because they had to watch their mom get beaten on, but they couldn't do anything about it because they were both like 5, 6, whatever. They were super young and weak. And so in their mind, they got like conditioned to the fact that like they need to be strong forever from now on to protect anyone in their life. And both of them were like really leveling. It got a little teary and stuff. Like, again, I was behind the camera like, oh my gosh, bro, this is so good. I'm crying, bro. But yeah, like, man, it was crazy, dude. But you're right. What I like kind of found from doing this is like, this is the biggest thing I had done up to that point in my life that like mattered. And I had like a lot of relying on me, right? Like if I screw up the Terry Crews footage, if I delete it, if it gets formatted, if I don't record it correctly, that's on me. He's not coming back to shoot that again.
Yeah.
And so this was like the highest stake thing I had done in my life, and also completely terrifying. Like, of course I have the confidence because I've done these things multiple times. I've shot so many projects for him that are getting tons of views and people like the stuff I've done, but it doesn't eliminate the fact that like, if you screw this up, you screw it up. That's it. You just have one chance to record it correctly. It was terrifying. And so I could have very easily been like, hey, this is a big deal. I think you should go with somebody who's a little bit more experienced. Maybe you should go with Araz from Strength Project. He's, you know, better than I am. But instead, I was just like, okay, man, just like squeeze everything real tight and just be confident about it and just pretend that you're not nervous at all. Just show up like a baller and just execute. And by pushing myself to do things like that, I feel like it builds your confidence to the point where like eventually, you know, I could shoot him again with Terry Crews and I'd be like, oh, no big deal, dude. Like, no issue, because I've done it before. But like, to do something bigger than you've ever done before is always this terrifying thing that you have to decide. Like, I can say no very easily and stay safe, or I can jump above and see if I'll survive in the climate that's like at the top of the peak of this mountain.
Well, and that's so powerful. Like staying, because like people, safety is obviously very enticing,
right?
And we talked about this in the last podcast that we did. I put up like sticky notes on my mirror, and one of them is about things that I want to work on, and one of them is like take more risks, because I am somebody that when something's safe, like I'm like most people, I think, like when something's safe, you want to just stay there,
right?
And it's like when
you're worse than most people. You're like, you not only do you want to stay in the safe zone, but you like expand your safe zone. So like, you don't even want to see discomfort.
He makes pillow forts.
Yeah, exactly.
It's safe here.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the episode of was it SpongeBob when it's like he's in that chamber where it turns into SpongeBob, or whatever. But
yeah, just like that.
just like that. Now I have the bad examples. But yeah, I mean, that's like staying in your comfort zone is something that it's super easy to do,
right?
And so it's crazy because there's so many different ways of getting out of that. You know what I mean? Like taking risks. It doesn't always have to be this, like spend more money here or do this. It's like, and it's crazy how it wasn't like the risk that you took was trusting yourself.
Right.
Like that's what it was. It was like believing in yourself, which a lot of people are like, oh, I believe in myself. But when like push comes to shove and it's like, this is a really big deal. Do you really believe in yourself? And if you say that, are you going to prove it to yourself?
Yep.
Because imagine if you didn't do that. Like imagine right now, I can't only imagine you'd think back and be like, I could have made that video.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? And now you're able to look back and like, I did that. And it's like that, and that's the thing, like when you build on those little things, when you actually accomplish something, right? And like get out of your comfort zone, and you do something that is amazing to you, like that's something you can always hold on to and you can always pull back on when you're maybe like nervous about something, about a project or something like that. You can always think back of how good you felt when you actually got out of your comfort zone and completed something. And this obviously goes with anything in your life, but like it's just cool that you're able to you can look back on that specific moment and there's like a video to prove it. You know what I mean? That you made. And the video really, like, if anybody wants to check it out, you should, because it's so good.
It's so good.
It's like one of those videos that's like timeless. It's always going to be good. You know, it's always going to be inspiring. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And like with anything, when it comes to like doing it or not doing it, you're always going to look back and be happy that you did it, even if it didn't come out well, if you failed or whatever, because the other alternative is not doing it and then guessing all the time for the rest of your life whether or not it would have gone good. You always do better just saying yes to opportunities, even if they scare you, especially if they scare you, I think.
Yeah, I think that, exactly. I totally agree. One thing I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit, because I know if people are...
Go ahead, touch it.
If people are coming here and they're like, say, fans of yours, supporters of yours, obviously there's like, I would say there's two pretty big things about you that are pretty prominent, right? So you dealt with really, really crazy acne growing up, and that's something that you documented on your channel. I would say that's where your channel first kind of found footing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of interested in just if you could kind of tell that story of why you felt like it was necessary to document what you were going through and what maybe you learned from that, if you want to go that far.
Yeah, I mean, like you had asked, when I first started lifting was 15, and so when I first started lifting, I also read everything I could. And back in the day, it wasn't YouTube; it was just like bodybuilding.com and like articles, like words and stuff. And so people, like, it was called bro science back in the day. I don't know if people still know about that term, but basically it's just science that's backed up by the fact that you're big, so you can say pretty much anything you want.
I'm super buff, so everything I say is bro science.
Right. And so on bodybuilding.com, you have to lift your weight, or you have to show your weight on your profile. So people who are bigger are always like, yeah, so you need to do this, you need to do that. And so I was just absorbing like bro science left and right. And one of the bro science things was like, if you are a really skinny guy who's trying to get big, gallon of milk a day. You got to do that. It'll get you a ton of calories, et cetera, et cetera. So I was having a gallon of milk every single day, along with the whey protein, the mass gainers, and the protein bars, and then my normal 4 chicken thighs and 4 potatoes 3 times a day. Yeah, you remember.
I remember that. That's what we used to eat when we would get back from the gym.
Right, I just ate like a robot. I just ate the same thing
Seriously,
over and over.
the ketchup, dip the potatoes in the ketchup. There you go. Split them in half.
And so from that, I got really bad acne. I'd say, like, obviously I'm just like anecdotally saying what I think, but I think my acne was heavily dairy related. I think my cystic nodular acne and stuff was dairy related. So as I progressed and I got obsessed with bodybuilding 15, 16, 17, 18, like throughout high school, I was just going harder and harder and harder with the protein amount. I was getting like 400 grams of whey protein every single day. I thought you needed 2 grams of protein per pound you weighed. Stupid
per pound you weighed?
Yeah.
So you're eating like 400?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Bro science, bro. Seriously.
Yeah.
So I had developed really bad acne that went from like, pretty bad to like really big nodular cysts that would stay around for like a month. Like by nodular, a lot of people don't know what that means. So basically like if you had a marble stuck under your skin is how big they would stick off your face. So I was just getting made fun of a bunch at high school because I was like the only kid lifting. So that was already kind of weird. And then, eating like all clean or whatever is like bringing Tupperware food. And other kids are eating hot Cheetos. And they're like, that's stupid, dude. Yeah. What are you eating rice for? And then on top of that, people are just making fun of you because we're all young, and I had tons and tons of acne, like beyond what you could possibly think of at that age. You're used to seeing a couple pinpricks, and then this guy comes over, and he's got just his whole face is red. And so I was just like getting made fun of all the time, and people were calling me names. And so I decided, I wanted to get rid of my acne because I was trying to make it big on YouTube. I was trying to do these fitness videos, but all the people were caring about was my acne.
That I can only imagine what that was probably like for you.
It was super annoying.
Like being like, I'm gonna stand in front of this camera, and I'm assuming you could like see yourself, right? So you're like, man, this is, and then obviously YouTube is notorious for people can be faceless, right? So they can say whatever they want. So just getting. Like, even if the information that you're giving out is good, all people are commenting about was the acne, right?
Right.
So I can
it's a video about creatine or something like that. And then all you're reading is just like comment face, you need to wash your face, drink more water, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is a bit about creatine, bro. Like, let's talk about the creatine, okay? Creatine monohydrate. Creatine phosphate. Adipose. Okay. So... yeah, basically, I just try to get rid of my acne through like all the different methods you would normally go through: proactive, Epiduo, like all the billion different products you can go get at CVS. And then I was like, okay, this isn't working still. I was like, I gotta go to the doctor. Went to the doctor. He gave me antibiotics. Didn't work. Tried like 3 different antibiotics. Didn't work. And then he gave me something called Retin-A, which is like a topical cream. Didn't work. And that's pretty much the last step they give you before they're like, all right, nothing's working. You were just completely screwed with this. The only option we have left is nuclear medication that will explode your face called Accutane. That used to be a chemotherapy drug. Bro, like I didn't know it was going to be so crazy. Like I would read up and stuff on.
Did you know about Accutane before you took it? Or like,
Yeah.
was it like, were you like, I want to take Accutane, and like you were just doing what you had to get there, or was it like, oh, this is a new thing that I've never heard of?
Yeah, I think it was more so of trying to get there, but still but being willing to do every step because maybe one of them will work and I don't have to do that.
You don't have to do that because there's tons of crazy side effects, right?
Oh
from
man,
Accutane.
And so I had read all that stuff on the internet. But like just like you, man, like there wasn't a lot of content out there. There was a lot of articles out there, so you could read a lot of stuff. But like, okay, cool, maybe I don't know who the heck this guy is. So it's not charismatic. It doesn't it doesn't resonate with you. You're just like, got it. There are some side effects. Well, that's nice, but
There's
like
side effects to everything, right?
I'm 19 right now, so like I'm not gonna die until I'm like 100 million years old. So like, bring the side effects on for later, Brian. Whatever. And so yeah, I eventually got on Accutane. And I'd have to do a blood test every month. Like I was getting like crazy side effects, faces like really, really extra breaking out at that point. It's called the initial breakout for like the first 2 to 6 months. My face was
That's
even
like when I
worse.
first met you.
Yeah.
I think I met you like you were a few weeks in to
Yeah.
taking Accutane, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, when I would like work out, for example, like the acne was so big and tight that like I would finish working out and then I'd feel my face like I'd be like, oh, I'm sweating really hard. It's like a lot of water in my face. I go look in the mirror and there'd just be like a cyst on my forehead that had popped middle workout and was just dripping down my like eyebrows. Like, and I'm like, oh shit, I was just walking around looking all confident. You're like, get out of the way, I need my water.
You just have pimple juice just kind of
Bro.
running down your forehead.
See that fear in everyone's eyes? They're afraid of me.
Of my mass.
My mask. All right, LP.
I don't know. Long story short, because I feel like this story could go forever. Eventually, I got off Accutane and I'd done it for 78 weeks. It finally cleared up in that last 3-month period. And I was like, sick, I'm done. We can get off. I get off. About 8 weeks later, my acne starts coming back. Same thing, nodular cysts, because I started putting dairy back into my diet. Like whey protein bars were heavy with Quest. Quest would always like send us out those huge boxes. And so we're just like, all right, yeah, have it. It's free. And I eat it. Every single time I get another cyst. And I was like, man, I'm over this. Like, I'm done. I thought I had done like the worst medication you could possibly do, and it's coming back. So then I just like tried to figure it out, and I found out like a lot of people were having acne because of whey protein. So then I took the whey protein out, and then I was like, well, whey is made from dairy. Took the dairy out, saw huge improvements, and then from there I just like kind of went down a rabbit hole of like, well, if dairy is bad for me, then maybe meat is also just the way it's produced with antibiotics and steroids and things like that. Maybe that is also affecting my liver and causing acne. So I took the meat out, and then I just upped my veggies because like that's never not going to be good. And so that was kind of like my 3-step system. I like said a million times, like, right, take the dairy out, take the meat out, and then up your veggies by 12 to 16 servings. Mm-hmm. And that's my story, like with how my acne went from like really, really bad to like finally actually figuring out how to fix it. And during that whole time, I was doing one video a week of my Accutane journey. And so that's like where, like you said, a lot of people found my channel and it got traction. It was just because either A, they were like looking at Accutane stuff so they could learn about Accutane, or B, they were just looking for acne content so somebody that had acne they could relate with. And so like that was really cool just to have so many people, like you're saying, like there wasn't a guy that you could look up to who was in the middle of fat loss or had lost fat. It was the same thing for Acne World. Like there was no acne content out there. It's like a single video and the person never uploads again.
Yeah.
But I was like the first acne channel you could come back to every week and be like, yo, he still has really bad acne, but he's still being all positive. Look, he's like laughing and pointing at his acne. Like, okay. And so people are getting confidence from it.
And I remember like we've had this conversation a little bit, but it's interesting because obviously our like struggles, if you will, are very different, you know, with being overweight and then having loose skin, with you having the acne. But I think with those struggles that we've been through, it's taught us a lot about just people in general and given us a lot of, like, we're able to be more empathetic with other people's issues. Because I truly think that, like, I mean, we've had conversations of like the kind of person you were before, like you had acne, like you're like, if you knew the person you were 10 years ago, you probably hate that person. Right. Like, and so I think that going through that stuff, it almost made you have to become a better person.
Totally.
You know? And so it's the same, I believe the same thing. Like, going through the, you know, being morbidly obese and now having loose skin, like I really think that shaped the person that I am now. And you know, like people, I would never change a thing. But I know how cheesy that sounds, but I truly think that. I still believe that.
Right.
Because like if I didn't go through that, and I don't want to speak for you, but like when you go through hardships, it makes you a better person. And if you let it, right? If you let it,
Yeah.
if you overcome it and I think especially for us, we overcame it and then we set a goal to help other people that are going through
Yeah.
it. Because for us, like, that's another reason that we, I think, are so connected is that we both have that feeling of we went through this thing. Now let me help other people go through that are going through this.
Right.
Because it's just like once you start doing that, you realize how much power there is in that. And it almost becomes like a drug. I love getting comments and be like, oh, you helped me lose X amount of weight, whatever. Because it's like, that's more valuable than anybody being like, oh, you're buff, dude.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or whatever.
Or like, oh,
it
you're
might be.
rich or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that is so much more valuable.
Right. Well, and you can see yourself in that person every single time. If it's the same struggle that you had, you're like, man, I know exactly what you're talking about, bro. And then they hit you up again 4 months later and they're like, things have gone so much better. And you're like, I know exactly how excited you are. I feel you, man. And you're right. Like when you start sharing it as content as well as actually having lived through it, I feel like it 10 times overfold the empathetic like feelings that you get out of it. You learn even more from it because now you're really analyzing it instead of just having lived through it.
And I think that that's one of the reasons that I get so bothered when people are like, you're using, like they say to me, you're using your loose skin for views. And I'm just like, this is something I live with every single day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is something that other people live with every single day. I don't talk about it every single day, but yeah, it's like there is value in helping other people that are going through this. Right. And so like, that's why I've always, I mean, I don't address it too much, but, and luckily I don't get the comments as much anymore because I think people realize it's been 4 years that I've been dealing with it. It's like, I'm not just like, if people really thought that I've kept it for this long because I want views, I think that's ridiculous. Right. And I think most people are like, okay, obviously that's not what it was for. And so like, I know that you've dealt with like the same kind of comments and stuff like that. Yeah. And so like, I don't know, for me, I'm just like, that's so, I just think that's such a silly thing to say to somebody.
It's just a closed-minded thing, man. It's just like you said, man, if you met you 10 years ago, you'd probably be like, yeah, you have a lot of learning to do, man, but you think you got it all figured out, don't you? It's the same thing with every other person. You know, those commenters and stuff. Maybe that guy who comments that thing that's negative about your loose skin or me, like, overusing my acne story and stuff. Maybe that person in 10 years from now would be like one of our closest friends who like has grown a lot, right? So that's the way I always try to look at it. It's just like, yeah, that person probably just doesn't know. They probably just haven't ran into a hardship yet. And like a lot of people don't ever run into a hardship ever. You know what I mean? And so for those people, like they're the ones who are really screwed because they never have the opportunity to actually learn. I don't know. You know.
As cheesy as it sounds, like everything you go through teaches you something and makes you a better person. Again, if you let it. Right?
Yeah, everything you go through has the potential.
Yeah.
That's a good way to
teach you and make you better. Or not, you know.
Or you can sit there and complain about the thing that happened.
You know, hardship comes and it just makes you like more in your shell, you know, or more,
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like instead of taking on the brunt of it head on and allowing yourself to be vulnerable and allowing yourself to be hurt and putting yourself out there, a hardship comes and you go, nope, I don't want that.
Totally.
Retract it again.
And I think that's like one of the reasons that we're given these positions. I think, spirituality. I don't know if some people aren't religious and stuff, but I think God gives certain people, I think, a lot of people get the same hardship, but he gives it to different types of people. And he gives it to some people who he knows can be in a leadership position afterwards. Because like for you and me, we kind of just did it. We didn't have too many other people like in the influencer world to like be like, oh, he already did it. That's a beaten path. I'm gonna just do it. So we just did it. And then because we are the type of person we are, we could share our stories. And then those people who, like you're saying, like wouldn't necessarily let it grow them. Instead, they would like recluse more. Mm-hmm. Those are the people that God put us in the position to be able to help those people. Because without someone to kind of look up to, they aren't going to know that they can get out of their reclusive shell and actually make it and survive. But then they see us and they're like, you can do that and you can survive and you can be cool and no one's going to make fun of you for it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like people... And it's like it's not like they're trying to be like I'm gonna do this and then become more inclusive. It's like they just have like a cycle in their head, you know, like this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. So then when someone comes through and like interjects like a different thought process, they're just like, oh, yeah, you know, like I don't have to do what I'm doing.
It's so true. And what's cool is, so we were just at that house in LA. So you know about that, right? We were staying in a house with like 13 other influencers, if you want to call them that, people that make videos, and a good amount of them were people that have lost weight.
Yeah.
And then one night we were all talking, and then they started being like, John, you're the reason that I started losing weight, or you're the reason that I started putting videos or putting posts up. And a lot of these people get way more views than I do now.
Yeah.
They are completely so past
Huge.
me. And I think that is the coolest thing ever, that I was able to influence somebody that literally completely blew right past me and is reaching people that I would never be able to reach, right? Like Jordan Shrinks and Zach, like they're able to reach people with Danny and Morgan. All those people are able to reach people that I would never be able to help,
Right?
Because they can't relate to me. They don't have the same story. They don't have the same struggles.
They don't like you.
Yeah, they don't like. Hey, who knows,
I mean,
right?
it's personality is a huge part of it.
Yeah,
you know?
and I'm
Like,
very
yeah.
annoying. So
You're ugly. You know, just so many different things.
Facts.
this is a great podcast. I love it so much. I'm not gonna go cry after this, but like being able to put yourself out there and then realize that the worth that you can put out there can become so much better than what you can even do.
Oh, yeah.
And like you can help people that can go just like take off and have this like, you know, monumental effect that you wouldn't have even been able to do yourself. And so I think that it's really cool, man. It really is such a fun thing being able to be in the positions that we've been in.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's just awesome.
Your actions ripple out, whether you want to accept that or not. And when you do accept it and you change your value system from just like, okay, how much money is that going to make me? Is that a better career path than this or that or whatever? And you start actually acknowledging the ripples that you can put out there. It's a better feeling, man. Like the fact that I was able to help you make your channel, which then helped all these millions of people. That's something that I would have loved to do, and I would have put in the work to like make informational videos about how to lose fat, but it wouldn't have connected with those people. So by helping you, I was able to indirectly help people through an instrument that, you know, I can't talk about or talk.
Exactly. And I think that, and it's not, I don't even think it's like you were thinking that when we first met. It was just like, just intuitively you were like, I want to help this guy because I think that there's not enough of this in the world, so I want to put that out there. And I think that this is actually a perfect like segue into what like the other thing I wanted to talk about, which is like veganism, right? And I think that the way that your story of how you like found veganism and why you became vegan is really interesting, because I think it's different than how most people might find it, right?
Yeah.
Because for you, a big part of it, like you already kind of talked about, was the acne. And can you just kind of talk about how you ended up becoming like, okay, I'm gonna be vegan now, and you know what I mean, like
Yeah, how I became a broccoli munching
bodybuilder with the man bun.
Man bun, dude. Like I gotta quit, man. How far am I gonna go before I become full hippie? So someone's gotta draw a line, bro. Give me some denim jeans already. Like
Tie-dye shirt.
Dude, that's the next step. No, next step is I'm gonna have dreadlocks, man.
Dreadlocks, no shoes anymore. You don't wear shoes because they keep you too far away from the ground.
I'm not grounded.
And you want to feel the pulses of the earth. You know what I mean?
It's funny because it's a real thing, bro. Like,
We're gonna upset everybody. Oh no.
Like you said, the dairy was causing huge acne. I had noticed that. I took it out to get rid of it. And then I went the rest of the way because I was like, all the hormones and antibiotics in meat. So I did it. And then my acne was kept at bay. You know, I didn't get those cysts anymore. Just get little tiny little things. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm seeing a huge improvement with this. There's no reason for me to not continue doing this, right? Like if it's going to keep my acne away, I'll do anything. I'll eat like a pound of parsley a day. Or I don't know, whatever. I'll snort banana powder. I don't know, whatever I need to do. And so it was working. So I was just like, all right, I'll just keep doing this. But then it slowly, that was my reason. And then slowly I started gaining the other reasons, right? So, like, you've seen those documentaries that have come out, like Cowspiracy and Earthlings and things like that. So that was, like, what developed my ethical perspective on it, just seeing, like, the way that America does it. I mean, the whole world does it, but, like, America really does it the worst. The way their animals are treated. They're all covered in, like, poo and stuff, and then they're, like, slaughtered, and then you still have poo on there. You're eating that poo. It's unethical. And then, like, the whole health reasons, like, the World Health Organization has come out with all these statements where, like, all these different things, like processed red meat is, like, it's actually a carcinogen type 2, just like cigarettes. So then the health part of it came out. And then I'd say, like, the last thing it's there, but it's like the least prioritized thing is just like the environmental impact. You know, the amount of grains that you need to grow to feed the meat, to then slaughter the meat and eat the meat. If you just ate the grains, it's literally 10 times more. So if everybody just ate grains, there would be no hunger problem. So, like, all those just kind of like culminated into it. But yeah, like definitely the initial start point was the fact that I could help my acne. And then from there, it just grew out more and more and more.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that I really appreciate about you is you've never been the person that is like, you try and force people to do things.
Right.
Because like I remember when like I wouldn't say when you first went vegan, but when you were like vegan, we were hanging out a lot, I would get like comments on my videos like, you need to be vegan, you need to be vegan.
When's John going vegan?
You'd always be like, you would just through your actions kind of influence me, if you want to say it like that, right? And it was actually interesting because I've been dairy free for over a year now, right? Like last year it was my New Year's resolution, and I've been pretty much dairy free unless it sneaks in something and I'm like, crap, dang it. And that actually has helped me. One was just like my gut health. And then for me, obviously, I would talk to you about my acne because it was never anything near, I don't want to say it was anything near the cystic acne
but
that
you
you were
had
doing.
acne.
But I had acne.
For sure.
And so that was something that helped me. But I think that with you being the way that you are, not super like, I don't know if you want to use the word militant, but like very like that vegan that's like you're killing people and you're just very like over the top.
Yeah.
I was able to actually hang out with you. We were actually still able to be friends, right? And I've always really respected that. And I feel like that's like you were kind of talking about earlier how like if you look back at the person you were 10 years ago, right? It's crazy. Like if you were to look back at the person you were 10 years ago, you wouldn't be like, oh, you're such a terrible person. You would just, again, show the way that you are, and then that person turned into who you are right now, which is crazy.
Right.
If you were just like super like, you need to stop, you need to do this is what's happening, that might have like turned that person off to it.
Exactly.
So I've always really respected the way that you kind of go about what you do, like who you are, why you do what you do, and you're able to still coexist with other people that might not share it, or maybe in the future they might, but at that time they're just not there yet.
Yeah. Well, like luckily with me, like it's kind of been like a handshake. Like two sides of me have been growing at the same time. It's just like as I've gotten older, I've understood different ways to detach myself from my ego and like the fact that like I'm cool and I'm awesome, I'm this guy and I'm better than that guy. You always have like that second thought in your head where you're like judging the value of you versus other people and why you are important stuff. So like you're saying, man, if you would have talked to me 10 years ago, you would have been like, this guy's kind of rude. Like he kind of sucks. Like I was more militant about whatever I was militant about back then than I am about veganism without realizing like how ineffective that is. So back then I would have been like, oh, you like CrossFit? That's stupid. Boop, done. Mm-hmm. That's it. There's no more conversation to it. And then you would have been like, well, I like it because of this and this and this. And I would be like, no, that's stupid. Like, you want to get swole? That's dumb. Like, just straight up no understanding of anything else. I am right. And, so, like, with anything that you're trying to advocate for that you're into, I feel like it's just, like, the wrong way to go about it is being militant about it and being aggressive. Because when have you ever gotten into a debate with anybody about something that you strongly believe about one side, they believe the other side, and you tell them they're wrong, and then they come out of it actually changing their opinion? As soon as you tell someone they're wrong, they go on the defensive immediately. Whether they're right or wrong, it's just their ego is protecting themselves from being below you. And so like nothing happens. And so like as I've grown, even if I didn't go vegan, this is the way that I would have like approached things, as I would have became less and less militant, and understood that by being less militant, I was actually affecting more people to change into whatever it is that I thought was so awesome. So that I would have just been less of a militant bodybuilder, but I still would have been like, showing how I'm doing it.
I think like a lot of people, the reason like that militant mindset comes from is like an insecurity.
Totally.
Like it's like they're not totally sure what they like how do I say this? Like the best way to make their view the best is by cutting everyone else's down.
Yep.
So there's not a lot of confidence that theirs will stand on their own. But if they can cut everyone else down, then theirs is going to be the highest opinion. You know what I mean?
Totally. And you see that a lot with people with egos. They just talk louder than everyone else.
Exactly.
In the room.
Yeah. And if they can be the loudest and if they can just annoy everyone and shut them up, then they win. But they don't realize that they actually lost the room. No one cares. No one wants them around anymore. And so I think as we grow, both in age but also just in maturity, like we become more confident and secure in what we stand in and what we believe in. And so it's less of a like, let me cut everyone down so I can be the highest, and more like, let me just build myself up. And the best that I can build and the best that I can be, people will be attracted to that.
That's so true, man. Be the best that I can be.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone else can worry about their lives and stuff. But when you do something that other people can admire, they don't care about the small things that you are, like what religion you are, what color you are, what this or that or whatever. They're like, I just like the fact that he is doing whatever it is, being passionate about helping people, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And then when people look up to you, admire you, they naturally want to start like changing themselves to be more like you because they admire you. Mm-hmm. And so then they're just like, okay, well, like what does he do for his workouts? And what does he do for this? And what does he do for that? And so by just being a cool, nice guy who's like really compassionate. People like me and I like them, and I'm always like really nice and I never cut anyone down. I feel like it's opened up that audience of people who are potentially thinking about veganism or are new vegans to be like, wow, this guy's my dude. He used to eat meat and he doesn't say that people are murderers for it. He understands. It was like 3 years ago. And of course, there's the other audience that needs the militant stuff, but I'll leave that to the people who want to be militant because it just isn't aligning with my personality type.
So, from going to like eating meat to veganism, that's just like there's a lot of things you got to change, like a lot, like a lot of life, and so like you kind of did it step by step, right? Like I can just imagine someone who's thinking like, and then I'm thinking about my fiance Sam. Which is crazy.
Shout out Sam.
Yeah. Like she went from not being diabetic to being diabetic, which she didn't have a choice about. But like,
apples and oranges.
Yeah. But it's life change nonetheless, right? And so I just imagine like if she didn't know anything about food, carbs, like anything, trying to completely change her life to now diabetic, sensitive, be thinking about that, or the same thing, eating meat and dairy to completely cutting all. Like, how do you recommend someone making a huge change like that? Is it one step at a time? You know what I mean? Like, like a big life change. How would you say to do that, to go about that?
Yeah, I mean, I say it's just like anything else, man. Again, it's just vegan makes this word sound so scary and big, and it's such a big deal. It's just like anything you want to do in your life. If you want to learn like Spanish or something, you don't know Spanish, you're not just going to go start reading a whole book about Spanish.
Spanish.
In Spanish, You need to like go step by step. The problem is just people like they just isolate veganism into like this wholly different thing when it's just another thing that you can slowly get into and eventually understand. So yeah, step by step. When I first started, it's funny, like, because now I eat very, like, healthy, whole foods. I cook a lot and stuff. And so people who follow me now, if they went back and watched my 4 years ago first vegan videos, they'd be like, dude, this is so processed. You're going to get cancer from this.
You're eating, like, all the fake meats
That's
and
all
stuff
I was
like
eating,
that.
bro.
All day. Like, you eat it still sometimes, but, like, it was every meal back
I was
in the
having,
day.
like, two different meals of Gardein every day, and then I'd sneak some tofurkey slices into a sandwich. Like, I was just relying on every other product, and every time a product would come out, I'd be like, Dad, I got to get it, got to try it. And that's an easy way to crutch into it because like that's what we're used to, right? You're used to picking up chicken and just cooking chicken. So like if you can find the vegan chicken, then it's the same thing. You just put it in a frying pan just like you would have with the real chicken.
Yeah.
So that's a good like catalyst to like start you into it. And actually you could stay there and keep doing that forever because whether you're eating like processed snack foods, vegan or processed snack foods, non-vegan, they're both processed snack foods. They ain't good for you. So if that's where you want to be, that's cool. You can be an unhealthy vegan. That's totally cool.
Yeah, that's that a lot of people think that if you go vegan, you're automatically going to be healthier.
Raw
but it's,
celery
like,
and stuff.
Yeah, but like you can be very unhealthy and still be eating vegan food, just like you can be very unhealthy and still be eating regular food. Like it's not
regular food. Your food's not regular, bro.
I know, I get this so much.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like you can be. It doesn't automatically make everything healthy. Just like when it's like gluten free, right? It's not I can eat as much as I want because it's gluten free now.
Which unfortunately people do get that idea and then they put it out there. And then there's a lot of like people who will like have health problems eventually, and then people are like, well, that's because you're vegan because everything's under a magnifying glass when you're vegan. And it's like, well, yeah, but that person also just didn't eat any vitamins at all, or like didn't have any calcium, or there's so many different things that you could do wrong on any diet, but veganism is just a little easier to like miss your B12 or your vitamin D or K. And so people like magnifying glass that.
So have you, like when you're trying to help somebody that is trying to like go vegan, have you noticed that because I can only imagine most people that are probably trying to go vegan, they've probably had like a big epiphany, right? They really want to change everything right away.
Yeah.
Is it hard for you to be like, we need to go into this slowly, and because like I'm assuming most people are like, I want to do everything right away, and like that's what I've noticed with like weight loss. A lot of people want to go from I'm eating a standard American diet, everything processed basically, you know what I mean, fast food all the time, to I need to eat chicken and broccoli and only eat clean, right?
No sauces, no salt.
Yeah, exactly. So like, has that been like an issue when you're trying to be like, you need to go into it slowly? It's okay if you still have a couple things here and there and just slowly transition into it, or do people kind of understand that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say a little bit. The problem is like we're doing like videos and photos and stuff. So you're interacting with thousands of people at once. You're not like one-on-oneing with people. But yeah, I've definitely had certain people be like, oh, I'm going to go vegan. Like, for example, Sam's cousin, she's having all these issues. She has like some sort of autoimmune deficiency. I forget what it is, but she's really inflamed and always in pain. Her hands always wake up in pain. So she's like, I've heard that dairy can cause a lot of inflammation, so I'm going to go vegan. But then she just went like full 100% vegan, and then like also hippie mode too. So she's literally having like, she was having like raw sprouted like greens like chlorella mixed into her oats and things like that. And I mean like, she'll never hear this, but she knows. She's not gonna be mad at me saying this. She went from a really bad diet, like where she drinks lots of alcohol, like wine, beer at night, and then has like pizza and things like that. And then, you know, just like you're saying, and then tries to switch over to something like, you know, lentils and rice and stuff. And so she was like, this is awesome. I feel so much better for like 1.5, 2 weeks. And right. So she got the effects of it, but the habitual, you know, being able to build that routine was not even close to even coming. Like that was never something that was going to stick around forever. So after 2 weeks of feeling her hands stop being in pain, she reintroduced like dairy and meat and stuff just because she went too hard. She could have just been unhealthy vegan for a long time and then slowly started like working on it. But she just went, you know, too far too quick. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that happens with fat loss, with veganism, with acne even. It's like it's all a step-by-step process.
I think part of it is the extreme is so, I don't want to say sexy, but the extreme is...
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it is.
You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
alluring.
it's like if someone's like, hey, like, I'm going to show you how to have a balanced, like, vegan diet just with standard stuff you'd see, you know what I mean? It's like, okay. But if someone's like, raw greens, like, only, like, whatever, like, then people are like, oh, I'm interested in seeing that. And then that's what's going to be getting the views. That's what's going to...
Well, like, we live in a world where it's all about getting clicks, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if your
the
thing
sustainable
is...
option is boring.
Yeah,
You
it
know?
is.
Yeah.
It is boring because if you see a video that says like how you can lose 50 pounds in 2 weeks or whatever, say it's 10 pounds in 10 days or whatever, it's like I just put up a video just like this, right? But it's like that it's not true. Like you're losing a bunch of water weight. It's not even. But like when you see that, you want to click on that. You don't want to click on how I was able to lose 100 pounds and I've kept it off for 6 years. People are like,
Right.
whatever. It's been 6 years. Whoop-de-doo. But I mean, that's more impressive to me than losing a bunch of weight super fast and then going back to your regular diet, gaining the weight back.
Yeah, we live in an all or nothing. Like America, especially, we're all like, "Oh, gun ho, do it or don't do it." And so it's like all or nothing. It always seems better to do. Like if they're looking at you, they're like, "Wow, he was fat and like couldn't do like things like get in and out of cars. Now he's like throwing 300 pounds around, doing front squats and stuff." Like, I don't want to do any of that other process stuff. I just want to start posting videos of me doing front squats like that.
Yeah.
It's alluring. And like you're saying with the vegan side of it, you're going and looking at like these influencers' pages. And of course we have to do things like the most aesthetic way possible. So you're looking at meals where it's like, whoa, dude, that guy's getting purple cabbage and like he's getting his Brussels sprouts, his broccoli, his green beans, and then rice and beans. Like this dude's healthy. Mm-hmm. And of course, all of us look at that and we're like, that's healthy. Not all of us are going to eat that. Not all of us want that. Mm-hmm. But almost every single person knows that's really healthy. It's got to be really good for your body. Mm-hmm. And so like you get the double excitement with veganism. It's like, you know, you go vegan and then you like lose inflammation, all the things that normal people say. But then also on top of that, you can also start eating all these healthy things and it's going to make you like superhuman. But eating vegetables, if you've never eaten vegetables, is like trying to drink like nail polish.
Yeah,
it's tough.
If you're not a fan of it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like so it's a step-by-step thing. And then by the time if you do decide to go healthy, you do feel awesome eating all those vegetables. No one's ever going to tell you they're not feeling better by eating vegetables, but you got to grow a palate for it and get rid of the old palate where it's just like used to Cheez-Its and like Bagel Bites and stuff in the microwave.
But it is possible
though.
It is possible.
Totally.
And that's like people ask me, like, don't you ever want like a cheat meal or a cheat day? And for me now, it's I genuinely have changed. My palate is so different from when like the thought of going to McDonald's and getting 2 McDoubles, 2 McChickens, a large fry and a drink. Like I know one, of course it's not going to be like disgusting. I'm not going to be like, ew, this is nasty. But a lot of it is mentally, I'm like, I know how I'm going to feel after I eat that. And for the amount of, like, I'm going to feel terrible for a lot of time, right? Hours after eating that it doesn't sound enticing to me. There's at all no desire to do that to myself. And I'm assuming it's like the same thing for you because I'm sure you get people, don't you miss steak? Like, oh, I'm going to put a steak in front of you. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe when I first was vegan, it was hard, but then once I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm assuming it's kind of the same thing, right? Like now you're just like, you see that stuff and it might even gross you out, right? Like seeing that stuff, it's like, I don't want that anymore.
Totally. Well, and what you're saying too is just like looking at food in more than one dimension, which is like all of us, we just grow up and the only dimension we look at is like, how does it taste? Then maybe you like grow up a little more and then you're like, okay, now there's this thing about calories. So now you look at it 2 dimensions, like how's it taste? And then is it like really bad? And I'm going to get more fat or like, etc. But then you add that 3rd dimension of, oh, right, how do I also feel afterwards? Because that's completely separate from those first 2 things. And once you start adding that 3rd dimension, that's like what I think is a separating point for a lot of people who are still looking and trying to figure out how they can make their fat loss happen, and the people who actually do make it happen. Is like the feeling is really important, man. I don't know, like if I was eating something over and over, like if I started eating Gardein and it made me feel terrible, I would have been like, I'm done with this Gardein stuff. You know what I mean?
That's so powerful that what you just said, though. I've never even thought of it like that, like the 3-dimension thing, because that is so true. Like
Right.
when people ask me, like, how do you not eat? A huge answer in it. A lot of times I feel like I say it and it falls on deaf ears because people just don't understand. They're like, what do you mean? Like how you feel afterwards. Like people, they don't even think of that. But
Right.
then they go out and eat a whole pizza and they can't move for 4 hours after they eat it.
Right.
I mean, you don't need to like call me out on the podcast.
That's John. Yeah, you do it. And I'm like, why? I don't, because of, it's almost like you have this, I don't want to call it a click moment, but it's like this epiphany. And it's like, now you think of it like that. And so it's so much easier. Like all it does for me, at least, is it makes it easier to make the right decisions, right? In quotes, it makes it easier to make the decision that I think is going to benefit me the most.
Right.
Because yeah, it's still fun and I still like to eat unhealthy or whatever,
Yeah.
but I definitely weigh my options, and if that's a choice I'm making, I know the consequences that are going to come from it.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, but it's like also once you do know that, which I also agree, I think that's a really good way to look at it, is the 3 kind of dimensions in it. But once you are at a certain point where you can kind of have this holistic look at like what the whole encompassing picture of it, you can make the decision that like, yes, I know I'm going to feel bad,
Yeah.
and yes, it has a lot of calories,
Right.
but dang, it tastes good. And you can
This
kind
is
of
him trying to
This
make
is
himself
me-
feel better about eating.
No, it's not me trying to make myself feel better. It's me talking exactly what I'm thinking. If it's like, if I know I'm taking a rest day, then Wednesday night, like, I'm just like, you know what? I don't really have to like do anything crazy on Thursday. Like, I'll be a little more free, And
Right.
so it's like having that like whole encompassing, like, okay, I recognize how this is going to make me feel, but tomorrow's not going to be that crazy of a day. So, like,
No, and
Totally.
I mean, I'm just messing with you, but
Yeah.
that is very important because that's the same thing. Like when people want to go all in or nothing, it's like they think that they can never have those days or like have those meals, and that's
Right.
just not true. Like I definitely, whatever you want to call it, treat myself. Like I do that, but it's not like I don't feel bad about it. It's like I made the choice and
Exactly.
I'm happy about it, and I feel kind of sluggish right now, but I knew that was going to happen, and
Right.
I'll feel fine in a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's the same thing with you, right? Like it's not like you're always eating perfectly healthy, but it's like like it's I think it's all about the amount of, it's all like how many times you do things. It's all about like if you're always eating pizza, then that's going to be a bad thing. But if you're like doing it every once in a while, then that it's what you do the most that defines who you are.
Doing the most.
Yeah.
It's as you get more knowledge and maturity about your relationship with food, it changes. So like what you're saying is completely valid, John. Like knowing that it's going to be that way tomorrow is different than eating it and not knowing why you feel that way. So like I feel like it's like when you don't look at the 3rd dimension of food and actually value how it's going to make you feel, it's like not knowing a language and then trying to like understand why things aren't happening. Like it's like not knowing how to use a computer and then being like, how come I have all these emails? You're just confused as hell when you wake up.
viruses, yeah.
Yeah, that's an even better way. You're
yeah.
downloading a bunch of songs, and you're like, how come my computer won't work anymore? And it's like, oh, that's the feel part of
You
it.
voluntarily gave it AIDS.
LimeWire
Dude.
back in the day.
Throwback Napster.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, it's the same thing. So like being able to understand that things make you feel a certain way makes it so that you can lose weight and still know like, okay, I'm not doing anything tomorrow. I'm going to feel bad from having this pizza tonight. I've figured it all out, and then you can do it. And that's what I'm saying. Like the people who I've seen lose weight and keep the weight off and not struggle with it are the people who understand that 3rd dimension of things. And I think that's where like a lot of people get lost when it comes to the fat loss thing, is that they're looking at those first 2 dimensions and they're hearing people talk about those first 2 dimensions a lot without understanding themselves the 3rd dimension. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's just something that if people looked at a little bit more, it would make it easier for them to traverse life. Because there are times when you should go have a birthday cake because it's your
Absolutely.
damn birthday.
Absolutely.
And you're going to wake up with a sugar rush and dehydration. But knowing that that's coming is important. Instead of waking up feeling that way and then being like, oh, I'm just not going to eat anything
I guess
today.
the day's ruined. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it spirals and you don't know why it's spiraling, and that's dangerous. You're literally playing in the dark.
That's why I'm such a big proponent of learning when it comes to like weight loss, not just like trusting some diet, trusting some whatever. Like it's once you learn, because once you have the knowledge, it's never going to go away.
Right.
And so that's why I hammer it so much. I hammer it all the time. Like learn. It's the most important thing. And people are I think a lot of people think that it's a lot harder to learn than it really is. If I can learn it, and I am somebody that was in special ed from second grade until the rest of my life, right? Like I don't learn well, easy. I don't even know.
You're not a learned gooder.
I'm not good at learnings. But if I can figure it out, I truly believe anybody can.
Yeah.
And it's just people are you get so nervous and so scared because you feel like it's this huge monster that you have to conquer, when in reality it really is just taking small steps, and you'll be able to like understand all of the stuff that I know. I think everything that I know, I think somebody can learn in 3 months easy.
Yeah.
Honestly. And like, I don't think I'm special. I'm assuming you probably don't. It's not like you're some, vegan guru that knows everything that nobody could ever get to your level. It's like, no, it's like I just took the time to learn about things and I've applied it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And you're just illuminating the dark. You have to walk in the dark because you don't know anything yet. So if you start building your little candle, your little light or whatever, it's easier to see what you're hitting. And then if you do hit things, you can take the candle and look at it and be like, that's what I hit. Instead of just walking more forward and just hoping you don't hit another block.
Exactly. Yeah. Learning from the mistakes and being like, okay, I'm not going to do that again.
Right.
Not just being like, oh, I hit that. Let me walk into it again.
Yeah,
Oh,
totally.
I hit that. Let me walk into it again. It's like, no, okay, let me take a step to the right and then keep going.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree.
Analogy king right here, bro.
Yeah,
I'm here for you.
I'm very, very good at. You're actually the analogy king.
I've always been the analogy
You
king.
have.
Zach is pretty analogy king
He
too.
is good. He's
so I was
good.
like, I might have some competition here in this house.
Zach Attacks Fat. He's pretty good at the analogy. John is the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad.
Okay.
They're just very weird.
I just think of weird examples. They're not bad. They're just like, I wouldn't have thought of that, but okay.
I guess you made your point.
Yeah. Okay, so what's your driving thing now? Like you're still posting on your YouTube channel. You've changed the name to Brian Turner. It's no longer Humorous Fitness.
Yeah.
What is like you're making videos, and if a new person were to go on your channel and they'd be like, I watched 10 hours worth of videos and now I know this. Like what is that for your channel?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. It's hard to say. Like, I just like helping people, period. So, like, if they can come around and find the acne stuff and that's, like, what really changes their life, that's awesome. That's what I want them to do. If veganism is a thing that can really help them, then that's awesome, too. But even, like, if you just come in and you're not interested in veganism, you're not going to go to veganism, but you come in and you learn like, oh, I can actually lift, I can do things that are good for me, and then I can start eating healthier. I can learn how to cook things in a pan, and it's not this scary thing. It's basically just like elevating people's quality of life has always been something that makes me really happy. And having people like give me feedback and say like, dude, my quality of life is severely better than it was before I found you. That's freaking awesome. So yeah, I guess it would be acne, veganism, and fitness kind of all tied in. Whoever needs what can get what. But yeah.
I think and then I think what you said, elevating your quality of life. I think all about like not being stuck, like where you are, right? Like where you are now does not where you have to be where you are in 10 years. Like you can make those decisions, you can make those actions, you can change your life and go for it.
That's why I keep like a lot of my old videos up. Is a lot of people who are really militant vegan followers now will comment and be like, hey dude, like how come you still have those videos up where it's like, 30-second cheesecake recipe made out of cottage cheese or something? Like people will go back and like go find those videos and be like, dude, I thought you were vegan. Why are these videos of you eating steak and chicken? And just like you're saying, man, like I think it's cool that if you come and you find out like, oh, I can change the way my life is going on my channel because I've been around so long, you can go oldest videos first and then start looking through and be like, whoa, dude, this guy was like ego bodybuilder, drank too much milk, was just eating literally microwave food and chicken and thighs and potatoes. That's it. And then now he's like a completely different person. Whether or not you want to be who I've become, you can just see that like a person can go from A to B and be completely different sides of the spectrum. So that's like another thing that I think is really cool about being around for so long. It's just showing people like you can do what you want to do. You just got to decide to start going that direction, start taking those small steps. Yeah, and you guys know me. I'm a really positive person too. So like, hopefully, if none of those things apply to you at all, just coming around and seeing some energy. I get a lot of people who DM me and they're like, "Your energy brings me up. Your stories make me so happy. I was in a bad mood. Now I'm in a good mood." That's what's up too. Put a little comedy in there. Put a little happiness. Make people smile.
Yeah,
it's a good feeling.
Knowing you for as long as I have known you, it's like a lot of people might want to be like, "Oh, it's probably just a show," or it's not. It's very much who you are.
Yeah,
and it's been cool being able to watch myself you change, from when we first met to where you are now. You definitely always had that like drive to want to help people, but it's definitely become refined. With the, what was it, 5 years that I've known you, or however long it's been, which is crazy to say that. That's wild.
Half a decade.
Awesome.
Yeah,
cool,
man.
man.
It's the most rewarding thing ever, man. Helping other people.
Sweet. So if somebody is listening to the podcast, they want to find you, where would they find you at?
Just don't find me. No, if you want to find me, you can find me YouTube and Instagram are the main ones. You can just punch in Brian Turner. On Instagram, it's Brian Turner Official, but it'll show up either way. And then lastly, if you want to find my podcast, which covers a lot of different ranges of topics, definitely not just veganism and stuff. That's just beyond the podcast, which is on iTunes or SoundCloud or Stitcher. And yeah, those are the main things. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool, bro.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Sexy. Thanks for having me, boys.
Peace.